Hi, this is a short program with slides put out by the Purdue Online Writing Lab, and you can see their address there, which is available to you always online. But I wanted to point out some of the major parts of the APA formatting and style so that you can make sure that you do them in your papers. APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and that's what nursing has decided to use for its style of formatting papers for publication and for universities. Other parts of the university may use MLA. You may be familiar with that, but we use the APA style. I want to point out that typically you'll be writing your papers in the third person. That means not using I or you or we or you. It would be using the study showed that, or you could say this author says. Now I have there the criteria that if we're asking you for your opinion, if it's an opinion paper and we want to know what you are going to do, you are thinking, then you definitely would use the I. You want to make sure that you are using clear language, grammatically correct, be concise. Do not make your sentences long in order to make your paper long. Get the information down on paper and be succinct. You want to use concise language, not creative writing. So we don't want you to be very descriptive and using slang, using jargon. Stick to solid sentences that everybody will understand. That is more scientific than creative. These points are very important because it makes your paper easier to read, and they really look nice. They are typed, they are double spaced, and you will have 1-inch margins all around. So make sure that you set your margins to 1 inch on all sides. I expect 12-point Times New Roman in your papers in 301, and most other professors expect that because this is what APA formatting is. You will use a page header in the upper left hand side of every page, and the page number goes on the right hand side. No fancy borders, no fancy page numbers. Here's an example of a title page. I've pointed out to several of you. Running head, look at how it's printed. Capital R, and then the rest are lowercase letters with a colon, and then a shortened title is in all caps, and that's the first page. It has page 1 on it. The title then, again, the title should be a title that's a little bit creative, that draws me to want to read your paper. It should be no more than 12 words. That's according to the APA manual. And then it's has your name on it, and then has your affiliation on it. No date, no course, none of the other information. Do not use abbreviations either. Okay, then the first page of your text after that title page is numbered page 2. You take out running head and you will just have the capital, all capitalized title on the left hand side in the header. Okay, then the expectation is that you will have the title again centered on the paper at the top of the beginning of your text. Then you will start to write your paragraphs. Make sure that you indent your paragraphs. They should be indented 5 spaces. It is very important that you identify the sources that you use. That's what we call citations. This says parenthetical in-text citations, and I have some examples. The reference page becomes very important. Look at what the title is. It's called References, and then look at the formatting of the references. You have the author's last name and then just initials, comma in between. You have the ampersand, not the word and written out. Then you have the year of publication in parentheses and then a period. Then you have the title of the article, and that is a variety of upper and lower case. And then you have the title of the journal, which is italicized, and all the words, all of the major words are capitalized. Then you have the volume, the issue in parentheses, a comma, and then the page numbers. You'll see that there's no PP for pages here in the references. Make sure that you are double spacing each reference, and notice that the second line of the reference, second line, third line are indented 5 spaces. The order should be alphabetical according to the first author, the first author's last name. You would never ever change the order of authors on the of the reference. So what the order that they give you on in the article is the order that you will put them in your references. So you see that Cummings, and then H for Hugh, then T for Tidewell, then Underwood. So you would organize them alphabetically. And it's important to pay attention because books, if you use books, are capitalized and listed differently, especially if you have chapters. References never have anybody's credentials. You'll never see PhD or RN or anything in a reference list. And keep the same order of the names. Look at that last one. Capitalize only the first letter of the first word of a title and subtitle. This is for a title of a journal article. And then the first word after a colon. Also make sure that proper nouns, which are names of cities, names of studies, you know, if you say you are using the Beck's Depression Scale, if that's in the title, that is the name of the scale, so that remains capitalized because they're proper nouns. Here's some more facts. All the major words in journal titles, italicized it. Italicized the names of books, the titles of books. Okay, so this just gives you an idea to, if you know, you want to make sure that you understand that it's a book or a journal title, or is it a web page, and then go to the OWL APA guide and look at the example and just, you know, copy that example, mirror the sample that it's giving you. The authors, the way the periods are, the way the commas are, the way the date is, the publisher. Don't forget, when you're doing a book, you have to have the publisher, and how do they write the city. And all of those things become very important, because what we're preparing you for is when you give presentations, you must cite the authors that you are using in your presentations. You must give them credit. And people may be very interested in finding those references that you're presenting in your presentation. So when you have the citations, they can very easily say, oh, I'm going to look that up because I have the reference list and I can find that because I'm interested in that topic. Okay, so in-text citations means citations crediting the author within your paragraph, the text within your paragraph. You're going to give the author's name and the year of publication, and then there's a special addition of the page number when you use a quotation. Okay, so look at this example. They're giving a quote. Carruth is the author of the study or the article, and then the date of the article, 1996, states that a traumatic response frequently enlists a quote, delayed, uncontrolled, repetitive appearance of hallucinations and other intrusive phenomena, quote, end quote, and then the page number where you found that, because again, people want to know where you found this direct quote, and this will tell them the page that it's on. You can also put it at the end. So if you put it in your own words without stating that the author states that, then you can put the author at the end of the sentence and it would be directed that way. I will tell you that you should not be using a lot of quotes in your paper. You should learn to put them in your own words. Typically I say that you should be quoting famous people, Florence Nightingale, Lillian Wald, famous leaders. Excuse me. But occasionally you want to use the correct wording. But you should not have a lot of quotes in your papers. You should be putting them in your own words and citing the authors, giving credit to the authors. And then again, here's another way to paraphrase the idea of another author. Always putting that author, comma, and then the year. This is pointing out that there are two authors in here and using the word "and" when you're writing in text. And this again is just how to do a quote. But it is pointing out that you can use these signal verbs. And so you could say according to, or you could say X argues that, or you could say X acknowledges, X contends that, X maintains that. Those are different ways to present a quote. This is if you're, again, working with two authors. Now, this is when you have an in-text citation with 3 to 5 authors. And many times you'll have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more authors on a paper. When you do the first one, first cite them, and it might be your only one, you put all 3 names and the year. If you continue to cite them because you found their work was very valuable to your paper, then you can put, when there's 3 or more authors, you can put et al. Look at that, et al, period, comma, and the year. Just pointing these out because these are the points that students often miss. And then sometimes you'll have the big articles with 6 or more authors, and you would always use from the very beginning, the first time you quote or the first time you cite that group, Smith et al, period, and then the year, or at the end of the sentence, Smith et al, period, comma, and the year. Now, it gets a little bit tricky with the electronic documents off of a web page, but they still would have an author, and you would still state that, and in your reference you would give it a name that you would use as the citation, and then list the website. Here's the headings. You see that most of them are bolded. That really helps to draw the attention of the reader in your paper. And then here's an example of the way things are centered. The big one in the center is methods, and then under methods they have these other points, and they're off to the left. That's probably the level of headings that you would have in your papers here at LaSalle. So again, use Purdue OWL. It's wonderful, it's fast, it gives examples, you can get into it more, but it really will just show you the page and what it looks like and answer your questions. You can also ask them questions. You can contact them, and they will answer things. I'm also happy to answer any questions. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps you with your APA style.